And this is the Army Accommodation Medal with 2 oak leaf clusters for valor and service. I have some other medals, but I didn't want to clutter my church up too much today, but we're very proud of them, and they just serve to signify and point out some of the things that we were able to accomplish. I grew up on the Atlantic coast in Virginia, and I grew up in segregated communities. I grew up in segregated schools. I had parents, however, that pushed me to get a good education, and they instilled within me and my grandmother and other family members that I could be what I wanted to be, I could do what I wanted to do, but I had to prepare myself to do it, to step out on the world stage. And they pushed me to get an education. And even though the schools were segregated, I got a good education, went on to Virginia State University, graduated from there. And realizing that I grew up in a segregated situation, it was really unique to me that when I rose to the rank of captain, that most of the units that I commanded were made up mainly of white soldiers. And I had been in the service for 4 years before I attained the rank of captain, so I had become acclimated to what the service life was like, and so it wasn't a new thing to be in charge and to be in command, but I have to tell you that it was very fulfilling and very rewarding to think that this young boy who grew up in a segregated community in the South in Virginia had risen to that type of position. And I was glad that they did the article, because I hope that it'll not only serve as a inspiration to the people who were in Vietnam and in other wars, but to our young people as well. I hope that it will inspire them, those who are in ROTC in high school and college, that you too, you can become what you want to become if you're willing to work hard and sacrifice and put forth the effort to do it. And so I just hope that that message came across as well.
Well, again, I just want to commend you for your service and commend you for the valor that you exuded. In fact, from what I understand in the article, you either had shrapnel or something that's in your neck that's still there because of the danger of it being so close to your spine that they had to keep it, as well as something about your knee had been replaced. Can you share what physically what was still going on with your body as reminders of the service?
Certainly, you know, the movie that I spoke of, Hamburger Hill, depicted that major battle of the war that I was involved in. And in that particular battle, I was the fire support coordinator for the division unit of the 101st Airborne Division. And we began the attack in early May of 1969. And we didn't realize that we were up against a well-armed NVA regiment of soldiers. In fact, it was the 29th NVA regiment, and situated in a place called Dong Ap Bia, which is a mountain just off Highway 1, which was the main route between North Vietnam and South Vietnam. And at the early stages of the campaign, around May 8th or 9th, I was wounded in the side with shrapnel. 3 days into the battle, I was taken back to the rear hospital and bandaged up and treated and stayed there for about 2 weeks, and then returned to the fight. I got my first Purple Heart from that campaign. About 10 or 12 days later, the fight really intensified, and doing directing airstrikes, I remember, and artillery into the regiment, I became exposed to enemy sniper fire, and I was shot through the back of the neck, and rock-propelled grenades shattered my left leg. And the bullet is still in my neck today because the surgeon said it was too close to the spine to operate. One slip of the scalpel and I was a paraplegic for life. It was repaired and I was able to recover. I've had 5 operations on my left leg, and I'm on my 2nd titanium knee now. And they are daily reminders of the trauma and the horror that occurred in that fight. I do have some post-traumatic stress, as anyone would have from being an experience like that, from recalling One occasion during that fight for Dunlop Beer where the medevac helicopter came in to take soldiers away from the battle scene, and it was shot down over the troops, and the helicopter exploded. The propeller came down, slicing bodies in two and heads off, and soldiers caught fire and were burning, and it was a very horrific scene. And to have been through something like that, you're going to have some post-traumatic stress on it. But thank God I survived, and I'm here today to talk about it. It's an experience that I don't speak of often, but they are my memories, and I'm glad that I was in a position that I did something to save the lives of many other troops by knocking out the enemy positions with airstrikes and artillery fire. And it almost cost me my life, but thank God I'm here today.
Well, thank God. And certainly God has had his protective hands on you and have protected you. And I'm so glad that you're able to not only come back, but to be of sound mind where you can still recall and share some of those experiences, not to express hate, but to motivate, to encourage others, regardless of who they are, but particularly African American young men and women, that again, the military as well as many other opportunities are there, but it requires work, it requires sacrifice, it requires training and education. And I'm so glad that you said those things, and hopefully they will hear that. And by seeing you and seeing those medals on you, and also you worked for the regional superintendent of schools at one time, didn't you? Isn't that your last
Absolutely.
employment?
After suffering the wounds that basically moved me from being able to participate in a combat role, I served more or less as in desk jobs in the service. I served in on the general staff and in the operations department and divisions. And I had been in the service around 8 years at that time. And so I received my release from active duty in 1975. At that time, I felt a calling to enter into the ministry. And so I was enrolled at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee at the Divinity School for the Master of Divinity program. And I was very happy to have Al Gore as one of my classmates, who went on to become Vice President of the United States and is very active in the global warming campaign now. But we shared some experiences together. He had been in Vietnam, but not on the front lines, but we were in Divinity School together. And so after completing Divinity School, I ministered to churches in the state of Kentucky for about 15 years. My children started to come then. My son was born. And my family and I decided to relocate to Peoria. There was a job available in the Peoria Regional Superintendent of Schools office. And so we relocated to Peoria in 1989 to fulfill that position. And Jerry Burkhardt, whom I'm thankful for today, gave me my start. And he gave me the position as the program director for drug education and prevention for the regional school system. And that was our last job from which we retired from, and I subsequently received my 100% disability from the service. I remain active in the church work. I've been an assistant minister at the Grace Missionary Baptist Church for the past 18 years. And I frequently do speaking engagements to other churches and other groups, and I'm able to share with them some experiences from Vietnam and the personal tragedy that I went through in losing my 10-year-old son 9 years ago, and hopefully provide them some inspiration to that you have faith and that you can persevere, that you can overcome whatever is thrown at you in life.
And speaking of your son, Julius, in his memory, you started a program. Could you comment about the program that you established in his memory?
Certainly, Andre. Of course, you know, any parent or any person is totally devastated after the loss of a child. And Julius was 10 years old at the time that we lost him. He loved the game of basketball. My nephew, Chris Whitney, was a star in the NBA at that time with the Washington Wizards, and he was inspired that he wanted to be a basketball player also. And so he was a student at Christ Lutheran School and on their 5th grade basketball team. And so when he passed, we wanted to do something in his memory to help other children as well. And so my family and I, we started the Julius Deloge basketball camp for kids in grades 5 through 8. It was later incorporated as a nonprofit corporation, and we're into our 9th year now. The kids are admitted free of charge. We give out scholarships ranging from $100 to $25 to the top 6 students. We give out free backpacks that are fully loaded for the kids to go back to school with, in addition to the medallions and the t-shirts. One of the important things we do in the camp is the first 15 minutes of the camp, we give inspirational lectures and training and spirituality on good conduct, how to be good moral citizens, and how to behave themselves, good sportsmanship. And the camp has been very successful, and we thank the members of the community who have supported it. We rely upon donations to the camp from businesses, from individuals who are interested and concerned. And we have a 3-year program in place to eventually build our own center, which will not only have a basketball court, but we intend to have computer training, reading and math tutoring, homemaking, accounting, things that will help our youth develop and to become better citizens. Right now we have a partnership with the Dream Center of Peoria, where we've been holding the camp, and Andy King and his staff has just been wonderful in supporting us and helping us with the camp. And we are encouraging our citizens and businesses in the community to get on board with us. We need your help. It's Christmas time, and you can give by simply making your check out to the Julius Deloge Basketball Camp Incorporated. It will certainly help our cause and to help our young people stay off the street, to give them an alternative away from violence and drugs and sex, and to help them to become better citizens.
Okay, and so you're currently operating out of the Dream Center?
That's correct. We operate out of the Dream Center.
Well, we had Mr. King on our program about a month ago and talking about all the various things that the Dream Center was doing in behalf of the community. And I would suggest that anyone who's interested in either contributing or getting more information could perhaps contact you through the Dream Center, or call and leave a message, and you'll get back with either that person or business to. And I would certainly hope that someone in the audience tonight, in recognition of the service that you provided for this country, would certainly step up to the bar and do what they can to assist you in your mission of trying to save the lives of so many of our young people in this community.